and we'll go ahead and officially start. So, ensure housekeeping, ensure that you always place your name and your campus in the chat. No matter if you're logging in for class, if it's an exam review, no matter what it is, just get in the habit of logging in, placing your name and campus in the chat. So if you have not done so, we'll pause just a few minutes and let you do that. Your name and your campus, place it in the chat. Once you have done that, go ahead and make sure, check your name on the screen. Ensure that your name matches what is on Fortis's roster. If you're in the middle of a name change and it has not officially changed, I need you to list your first and your last name as it appears on Fortis's roster. I think you just go to participant. Your view might be different from mine, but you just go to participant and then it says rename or the three little dots. I think that's how you can change your name. So this is very important. So just as a reminder, and I say this several times, and just as reminders, the sessions are recorded and they are viewed by the attendance administrators. Your sometimes campus deans, whomever the powers that be. So just ensure that your name, you have two names listed, a first and a last name, and then make sure that it matches what's on Fortis's roster. Everything is timestamped. These sessions are recorded. Even when you log off, if you lose connectivity, just make sure that you log back in and then put a message in the chat as to what is really going on, why you're having to log back in. So this is not anything new, but we just like to provide the reminders. So again, welcome to the April 2025 Quarter of Leadership. I am Dr. Morton Ford, or either Dr. Ford is fine. We will not prolong the time. Most of you all I have met either in community or maybe in one of, not if not in my community class, one of the other professors' classes. But nevertheless, I am a nurse. I like all things healthcare. So if it's involved in helping taking care of someone, whether or not it's in the community, if it's hands-on, if it's helping at the beginning of life or end of life, I'm just all hands on deck. So that's just a little bit about me. The instructor tab for all your courses have more information about us, the professors, and how to contact us. You know, our emails are listed there. For the most part, there are not many of us that have same names. So once you just start typing in our names, our emails will pop up. But nevertheless, the instructor tab, if you need to call us, text us, or email us, that information is there. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I will also say in the event, it is expected that you are on camera for the entirety of the time. We do take breaks, but if something comes up, and I say something, and that's whatever that could be for you, if something comes up where you need to step away from the camera, make sure that you put a message in the chat to myself. Do not send it out to everyone. So be careful with that. When you click on the chat, you it's already set on everyone. So take the time to click and find my name and then send a message in the chat as to why you are not in front of the camera. In the event that you just don't want to be in front of the camera for whatever reason, once the attendance administrator looks at the recording, you may be deemed points or time because you really aren't present. So make sure that you're in front of the camera. If you are not, you have to go to the restroom or something goes on where you're at, please take the time to put a message in the chat to communicate. And then that will all be well and fine. Let's see here. We know the storms are coming. Connectivity is always an issue. So just log back in or send an email. Just let me know what's going on. Communication is going to be key. All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen here. Let's go ahead and go over this orientation PowerPoint. For some of you all, this is your second class. It might be your third class that you're taking this term. This might be the only class that you're taking this term. So just know that we're all on a journey, but nevertheless, we're going to keep moving forward. So as we say these things, just keep in mind be thinking about what you can put on your to-do list, what things you can eliminate, rearrange, delete, and put on pause. And so, you may hear your classmates talking about, things, but just make sure you always refocus and make decisions based on, you, your family, and your responsibilities. And it's also campus specific too. So we'll talk about HESIs and things later on, and that's campus specific. So again, welcome to April 2025 orientation to online nursing courses. We are so glad that you are there, and we are here to help you along your journey. What is online learning? Online learning means using a computer, internet access to participate in your educational program. We know that you have the courses that are in the actual brick and mortar, but these are online. But the expectations are the same, and that is for you to be present and to take part in your learning process. The online instructor we have interactions with you. We will have where we put in groups, small groups, whole groups. You'll be asked to put information to respond in the chat. I am going to use, we usually use Kahoots, Mentimeter. There are several different resources that we use just to make it interactive and so that you can validate those things that you do know. And then also the things that you don't know, though, that's at the top of your to-do list to go back and start studying and ask questions about. The online instructor, we provide guidance and we lead you through learning activities. We also provide that feedback about your progress. So let me just pause here. A lot of times what happens is when you can't get into, I don't know, that connectivity something, just log all the way out and then count to 10 and log back in. I don't know if that's a real thing, but I found out that it does work. And so they're in, whoever that was. Great, glad you're here. All right, so we're here to guide you along with like I said, different learning activities that we do have. So don't be afraid to respond, even if you get it incorrect. This is a safe space. This is also where you will get it correct, because I'm not going to let you answer incorrectly and not provide the correction. So there's nothing to be embarrassed about. We do offer one-on-one tutoring. We do have the exam review. So make sure that you take part in those things and come with questions. And in between time, you don't have to wait until then. You always have that email, send an email, and then therefore you can go back and respond to it. While I'm mentioning the email, put it on your to-do list. If you do not have access to your Outlook mail, you need to request a help desk ticket. I think you need to go through your campus dean. They can help you get access to that. There are very few of you all. Sometimes I'm not sure what goes on, but there are always a few that do not have access to the Outlook mail. You need access to your Outlook mail as well as the Canvas mail. Canvas mail is attached to your course, but you do need that Outlook mail as well. Okay. So the online courses we meet weekly. You do have weekly homework assignments and learning activities. You have quizzes each week, I think, exception of maybe the last 3 weeks. As a matter of fact, your first quiz is next week. And we usually have 2 quizzes, and then we have 5 quizzes and then 3 exams. And then, of course, we have the HESI. That doesn't count as one of the 3 exams, but we'll look at that more here in a few. So we want to start looking at, so you always have something to do. So if you have this class and additional classes, it's going to be real important that you look at those syllabi and you may also need an electronic calendar, also a paper calendar, just to make sure that you stay aligned and structured, and so that you don't get behind. But you have assignments that are due every week. If there's not a quiz, there's an exam. So just get in that mode. You're responsible to complete the required coursework every week. At the end, whatever's in this shell, that's it. We can't provide any extra credit. So let's just make good on the assignments and everything that is already that's there. That's enough. So let's just give our whole give to get complete those assignments. You will meet students from other Fortis college locations in your online course. And that's important when we get down to the HESI week, that you are specific and follow the instructions for your campus. The HESI is the HESI, but each campus does a little bit different with scheduling and days and times and all of that. So If you hear me, I'm on, the Columbus campus, and then you hear another student that's on Cincinnati campus, and we say something that, well, we're doing this. So make sure, always go back and check and make sure of what you need to do so that you can be in place on the correct day and time. Okay, so I am always the first line of contact. In the event that I'm not available, I don't have an answer, if I don't respond timely, go ahead and send a message to the course lead, which is Dr. Mary. So, but of course, each class that you're assigned to, the instructor is the first contact person. Go ahead and contact us and allow us to try to resolve the issue. In the event that we can't, trust me, we're going to get the team leads, the Dean Brown. Darlene Brown is our online dean, and of course, your campus dean. We're going to get everybody involved because we are here to assist you along your journey and to exhaust all means so that you can do your best. So we're available through email. This is going to be that Outlook mail that is talking about Canvas, that comes with the course, and then of course messaging by phone. So that information is listed in the Canvas portal, and I think it's titled About the Instructor. About the instructor. So that's where our information is. Okay, and then so of course we can suggest ways you can improve your performance in your online courses. So just if you've made it to leadership, you've taken several courses already. So think about those things that work well for you, that help you gain a better understanding of the content, and those things that did not work well. So you want to reconsider those, and so that you can go ahead from day one, putting those things into practice, because we do want you to be successful. Of course, we provide feedback on your learning through grades and specific feedback, and we'll reach out to offer assistance, which we each time, we just say send an email or text message in the event that there's a question or a concern. Just like here tonight, someone had a problem getting in, they were already contacted. So yes, please do that. Is experience in the course content area? Yes, we are experienced. Most of us are cross-trained in pretty much so many different, and you will become as well. You'll find those as you go journey through your clinical, begin to identify those settings that you are just really, really just wild about, and the ones that you're like, oh, I'll do this if I have to. So go ahead and start identifying those. But nevertheless, if that setting that you're working in has other departments, you're going to become cross-trained and experienced in the content area as well, other than what you really, the area that you really want to work in. And that's just all about taking care of someone. That's what we do as healthcare professionals. The online course is a professional setting. So, of course, we are communicating all the time. Chat, we're in small group, we're in whole group. Sometimes, I may ask a question and ask you to come off mute. If someone else is talking, we yield to them talking, then we wait. And if the event that we talk over them, we apologize and we stop and allow them to finish. And then, so yes, communication is key, but respectful communication is essential. So for any issue, computer access, course question, grading concern, you want to start with the instructor. This is for all of your courses. Our course information, yes, that tab that's in the modules, it says about your instructor. That's where our information is listed. And then Dean Brown's information is there as well. So for leadership, our course lead is Dr. Mary Tenza, and then our online dean is Dr. Darlene Brown. There are, I want to say it's there total of 4 of us that are in leadership. So you will have at least 3 opportunities when we do exam reviews, besides myself being giving the exam review. So you'll have other opportunities to listen and ask questions from the other professors as well. So again, that's Dr. Mary Tenza, the course lead, and then Dean Darlene Brown is the online dean. Okay. The information is here, her email address, and then that's her number as well. Like I mentioned earlier, for the most part, there are a few of us that have the same name. So once you start typing in our first name, our email address will pop up, because there's not very many of us that have the same name. So adequate and inadequate. State your thoughts in a courteous, positive, and respectful manner. Even if you're disagreeing, it's a way to still respond in a courteous, positive, and respectful manner. Be mindful of how you express humorous or emotional statements. And we tend to, you want to just stay on topic. Whatever we're talking about, I know sometimes we all get off topic, but we need to refocus because then once we get off topic, then we start talking about other things, and then people might misinterpret what's being said. And so we want to lessen the chance for that actually happening. So keep our comments relevant to the discussion topic. Be considerate of others, their experiences, feelings, and perspectives. We want to use proper language, titles, and do not use slang because different things mean different things. It's something how you're talking about a cool light brown beverage with ice in it with a lemon on top now means communications. Like, wow. So, and I meant tea. The example that I was given was tea, a cool glass of tea. But now that actually means gossip or something, communication. So be careful with slang. Just stick to our language. And when we are talking to our patients, of course, we want to talk in lay terms so that they can understand, but still stick to those common terms as used for whatever we're talking about. We don't want to use any slang. Do not type your messages in all caps. That's an expression of that you are yelling. The online courses, you all, they have specific start times and end times. And I haven't heard that there is a conflict. I know a couple of courses over the past 3-4 years, there have been some courses that ended at, for example, our class started tonight at 8:30. Some classes ended at 8:30 and the next class started at 8:30. So far I haven't heard any conflicts. But if it is, just let us, if we missed that, just communicate that to us. And usually we'll work together, the other professor and I, and we'll do something to offset it. But all classes, you are to be in those classes at those specific start times. And so what happens is, and we'll talk about it here later on, everything matters. Every point matters, you all. So this time, why are we talking about having a specific start time? So if you're not in class at that start time, each minute counts as so many increments of being absent, and then you're docked that time. There's a whole slide on that. We'll get to that here in a minute. So we do have specific start and end times. So we do have a break time. And so our total break is the 25 minutes. So we usually do a 5-minute break at the end of every hour. And then we save our 15 minutes toward the end if we can. And so with that being said, we will actually end at 11 p.m. instead of 11:15 p.m. So we don't get out early. That's just time that we have. And we just kind of stored it up during the class time. So these are mandatory live sessions. You must attend. If in the event that a class is scheduled, you must attend because that counts as however many minutes absence, and then so many you can actually end up with being dropped from the course. There's a slide coming up on that in just a few. Course activities. They will include discussion questions. You already started on your discussion question. I want to say there are 4 for this class. You have projects, papers, case studies, quizzes, and exams. We don't use CJ-SIM in this class as an assignment, but we may pull one of those cases up. And that is the only assignment that you can screenshot and turn in. So for your NCLEX questions, know that you have to upload those files that you get, no screenshots. And for papers, we'll talk about this too a little bit more. But if you have previously written a paper, well, I'll say this more than one time, and it's similar to what the assignment that is listed for this class or any other class that you're taking, you need to, even though that's your paper, you wrote it, you cited it, but remember you've uploaded it to that database that everyone uses across the United States. So when you upload it this term, it's going to be 100% plagiarized. So before even doing that, you've written a paper that's similar to what the assignment is right now for any course. Go ahead and just go back through those sources and restate, re-paraphrase, so that you don't even run into getting that message saying, hey, your plagiarism score is too high. And so then, because that will lead to other doors opening, paperwork being filed, things being placed on your files at the school, because plagiarism is is frowned upon. So just keep that in mind. So if you've written a similar paper for another class or even this class at another school, you need to go in, excuse me, and rephrase, paraphrase. You can keep your same sources if they're within that time frame, but you need to go back in and rework your information because it's going to come up with a high plagiarism score. And then that's going to negatively affect your grade. So discussion board requires the initial posting. I think this is for all your courses. The initial post must be made midnight by Wednesday of that week. And then by that Sunday midnight, you must respond to two of your peers to gain all of your points. Of course, you do want to make sure that you're referring to the rubric and answering appropriately and making sure that whatever you're talking about is relevant to what the discussion topic is. Due dates are according to the syllabus week and posted in the course shell. So week 1, week 2. So if you have something that's due week 2, we meet on Monday. Look at week 2 and whatever that Monday date is. If you have a class that meets on Wednesday and something is due in week 3, whatever that date is for that Wednesday. So that's when your things are due. Academic integrity, standards of student professional conduct. Academic integrity, all incidences, I'm going to have to read this whole slide word for word. All incidences of academic dishonesty and violations of academic integrity will be disciplined. Such acts cannot be cannot be listed here exhaustively. So what that means is we don't have everything listed on this slide. But if it's deemed academic integrity, excuse me, y'all, if it's deemed a, a, a breach in professional conduct, then there will be charges, things will be written on your record. You'll have to go before and go through that whole process. I'm just gonna pause here because I am coughing. I'm sure one of those little things got in my throat, y'all, that I may have to pause it again. But I want you to hear this academic integrity slide. I want you to read through as I read it as well. Wait a minute, it's not letting me share my screen here. Uh-oh. So we know AI is out there, but I need you to be careful. And it's like there's so many things out there. So the best thing is just to pre-plan. And like I said, I'm already telling you, if you've already written a paper that's similar, just go ahead and plan so that you can take the time to review those sources and get your whatever your assignment is together. Thank you. Okay, so cheating. So make sure that even the appearances of this, when we're taking these exams, these quizzes, your HESIs, if the rule says no electronic devices, remove those Apple Watches, remove all of this stuff. Even if you're just looking down at these devices for a time, like we can't really tell. So just don't even have those things in place. Because even the appearances of this, even if you're making a joke with your classmates, please don't make a joke about cheating. Because more than likely they're going to let us know. And then and then we do want to protect you as well as the person that's reporting it. So just make sure that, don't even joke about things like that because it's recorded. You never know who's recording you. So just make sure that even the appearances of it, just don't even let that be part of your conversation because it has to be investigated because we want to protect you as well as whoever is reporting it as well. So plagiarism, this is where I just mentioned. Submission of the work of another person for credit or failure to properly cite references for any work which is not original to the student, copying the work of others, allowing another student to copy from the student. If you are, I don't know, sometimes you copy and paste something, but then you mean to go back and undo the paste, and then you don't realize that something's attached to the paste. So just be careful with copying and pasting, you all. Just write it all out or go ahead and type it out loud. Because if you forget to go back and paste what you really didn't use. You just needed it there to reference while you were paraphrasing it on your own, and it's still a part of your paper. It's going to be deemed when it goes through that website, that Turnitin website. And those things that you have copied and pasted sometimes have people's names on it. So then here it is, you have not only a direct quote that's been copied and pasted, but you also have copied and pasted someone's name. So, but I know sometimes people will copy and then they'll have another screen open and they'll be, paraphrasing. Just be careful and just be careful with your final product that you're turning in. Unauthorized use of notes of materials and exams, including talking to other students, posting things on websites, on Facebook. For some reason, you take pictures of the quiz or the exam, which you're not supposed to be able to, but things happen. And then we post them on Facebook and all these social media sites, you all. That is prohibited. Please don't do that because you're not only breaking the rule of the institution, you've opened it up to a whole nother can of worms, so to speak. So that social media website that you're using, what are their rules and regulations? So you're violating their rules and regulations. So then they may even have other penalties or charges and whatever their process is. So just be careful. Even when this is not talking about your coursework, but when you're sharing pictures or sharing stories, you want to be careful with that as well. That's just a life thing. Don't click on stuff and be sharing it, because then it can be depends on what site it's on. It can get confused or something. I forget what they said it does when you're sharing things. You really don't have the authorization to share it, so just be careful with that. All right. So unauthorized use of notes, materials, and exams, including talking to other students, forging or altering assignments. So remember, I was talking about the copy and pasting. You really were not copying and pasting, but then you forgot to take it out because you were just using that just as a guide. That looks like you were forging or altering someone else's assignment. That's what I'm saying, the appearances of stuff. So just be careful. Give yourself enough time to work through these assignments so that you can paraphrase and cite where you're supposed to. Unpermitted collaboration, giving or receiving aid on an exam or other academic assignment under circumstances in which a reasonable person should have known that such aid was not permitted. The example that I just gave about someone posting pictures of a course that they took, quiz or exam on Facebook. A reasonable person would have known that's not permitted. Allowing others to copy or use work that is not his or her own, providing answers from graded assignments to others. Okay. Just checking the chat, making sure I'm not missing any messages. Okay. And move forward. So if you all were not in when I first announced, make sure you put your name and campus in the chat in the event that you have to walk away, because we're going to take our first break at the end of the hour. So that will be at 9:30. So if you have to walk away before then, put a message in the chat to myself, send it out to everyone as why you're not in front of the camera. All right, so the American, Nurses Association Code of Ethics for Nursing. We'll be talking about ethics and everything during this course. And you've probably been pretty much hitting on it in every course as well. But the Code of Ethics serves the following purpose. It's an expression of nursing's own understanding of its commitment to society. It's the profession's non-negotiable ethical standard. Right is right, wrong is wrong. Even if we have a patient that is a repeater, or they are non-compliant, they're refusing, it is still non-negotiable. We still do what is correct. It is a succinct statement of ethical values, obligations, duties, professional ideas of nurses individually and collectively. Uh-oh. Sometimes you all mean this PowerPoint. Okay, here we go. All right, here we go. Sites that promote cheating, stay away from them. I'm not sure who it is, but there is a site person out there, and this is in all institutions, They monitor. This is real, you all. This is not something we just have on a slide. Use of these sites do not promote honor, ethics, or integrity. These sites are being monitored. Being found on these sites will place you on a heightened monitoring of your work for academic integrity violations. Don't even click on the site to see what's there. I know you're like, oh my goodness, I heard about these sites. Let me just go look around. So whoever this person is or these people are that monitor this, that clicking and looking around, you'll be monitored going forward. It'll be noted on whatever date and time that you clicked in and looked around. You don't want to reference these sites when you're turning in work. In the event that you do that, that will result in a 0 for the assignments. And it depends on what are the circumstances. It might be enough. It may be enough to cause to fail the course. Just stay away from these sites, you all. A second incident involving these sites will result in course failure. Utilizing these sites, hosting and downloading will put you at risk from being dismissed from the program. Your campus and your upper administration will be involved. If they're not in your list of resources in your course shell, just don't use them. And there are too many to name, but these are some of the most familiar ones. This Studco and this Course Hero and this Stuvia. These are the ones that are mostly used, but there are many. So in the event that you say, well, hey, it wasn't listed on that slide, what do we say? We say always go to the resources that are listed in your course shell. Was that resource listed in your course shell? No, it was not. So we found that, student ABC was in there moving around. They clicked on this and they downloaded this. It is being monitored. This is not for fake, you all. This is real. Stay away from those sites. All right. So late work policy. Things happen. Things happen to everyone. And so, but the key is communicate. Something comes up and you're getting ready. It's time to turn in that assignment. I need you to open up your email, send a message. You can go ahead and put the course lead in the email too. And this is for all of your courses, you all. Submit the work on time. That's what we want to do because we just said we want all of our points. So if you have a 100% assignment that's turned in, you have answered it, you've completed it beautifully, and you would have gained all your points according to the rubric. In the event that you do not communicate and get prior approval from the instructor that it's going to be late, then that assignment will be considered as late and you will not receive any points for it because you did not communicate without prior approval. Now, here's on the other side. Well, think something comes up, send an email. Within that 1 to 7 days, we can still grade your assignment, but know that it still comes with a 10% deduction. That's better than a 0. So even if you have 100% assignment that's turned in, you did your best, it is beautiful. In normal circumstances, had it not been late, you would have got 100, you would have got all your points. But something came up, work, life, something, you communicated, the highest you can make on that assignment would be a 9 because you're going to still get that 10% deduction in the event that you turn it in within that 1 to 7 day mark. After that 7 day, it will result in a 0 for the assignment. So that's why I say most of you all are taking more than one course. We have work life, going on. And so you want to get these calendars, go ahead and look at your schedules, go ahead and start planning things. We do know things come up. So just have, that email ready to send and say, hey, I have this going on and this assignment is going to be late. Do I have approval to go ahead and still work on it and still turn it in? And that's all that's needed. Excuse me. Attendance in the online course. Attendance will only be recorded during your assigned live session time. So what this means is generally you cannot go to someone else's course section and be counted present for this class. We're not unrealistic. Some storms have come up and where we were having class on alternate days, we were having to just rearrange some things. But that's only in the event that there's some type of natural disaster or something that comes up. So just plan to be in attendance. on the day of the week that your classes are assigned, because attendance will only be recorded during your assigned live session time. Now, if something comes up where you just can't be and you want to take the absence, just still communicate with your professor and we'll see what else, what other record. But at the minimum, we also post each recording each time. So you can always come back and watch those. But you will still be, marked absent for not attending the live session. Attendance is taken by the instructor during a live session. Zoom stamps everything, wow. Log in on time. In the event that the connectivity knocks me off, just hold on. I'm going to try to get back in. It knocks you off. Just keep trying to log back in and communicate that what's going on. To be counted as present in the class, you must sign in with your full name. If you're going through a name change, wait until it is official, because what will happen is Zoom will record you as what you have listed there when you log in. I know a lot of times we log in and it shows our phone. It'll say iPhone, it will not have your name. So always take the time to rename yourself with your first and your last name and make sure that it matches what's on Fortis's roster. Because once they go back and check the roster that we turn in with the Zoom roster and Fortis's roster, the names don't match. Well, were you really there? And so, in addition to that, yeah, but we've asked you to change your name so that we can make sure that it matches. So there are no appearances or no extra discussions that we have to have about anything like this. Just go ahead and change your name so that it matches. You do want to be on camera the entire time. Make sure that the camera is not pointing toward the ceiling. There are sometimes you may have to step away, go to the restroom, put a message in the chat to myself. If it's not break time and you just something's going on, or you just need to step away for a moment, put a message in the chat to myself, and just make sure you return in a timely manner. Anyone at work or driving, we have to remove you from the session. That is a safety issue. If you're at work, you're supposed to be doing whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing at work, and that is not being in class. Driving, that's a safety issue. Things happen when we're not distracted, let alone talking about listening to me talk for 2.5 hours. So, just go ahead and be looking at your schedules. I will say the 12th week, no, the 11th week. Remember, HESIs are week 11. That week, the classes are different. You have your HESIs scheduled. And a lot of times, most of the time, HESIs are not scheduled during the classes that are at night. So I know you have your calendar made. Are you getting ready to make your calendar? Go ahead and put a star or highlight week 11 and just know that that week is going to look a little bit different. We don't meet as a class during that week because your HESI exam counts for your class attendance. But usually HESIs are not given this time of night. So if you're on some type of rotation or some type of schedule, just make a note. Week 11 is going to look different. You might want to go ahead and start having those conversations, especially when you get closer to week 11 with your employers or whomever, so that you all can work that out so that you won't miss your HESI, and so that you can take care of your other obligations as well. Anyone not comment on camera after being asked to, and what I usually do is put a message in the chat. So if you have anything on your computer that disables your chat so that you can't receive a message from me or your classmates, make sure you disable that. Because usually I don't call you out because we're professionals and, we're just making a decision. And maybe, the decision is, you want to be marked absent. And so, but sometimes things happen, you really don't realize you're not positioned correctly. So I'll just put a message in the chat. Say, hey, can't see you on camera, And, but after a couple warnings or asking what's going on to make sure everything is okay, then you just be removed from the session because it's like you're not there anyways. Faculty will verify students' time in class by reviewing the times on Zoom. Zoom timestamps everything. Even if I didn't have my Zoom open and you logged in, it tells us that you tried to log in. If you make it to that waiting room, I know sometimes on exam days, there's a delay with you being in that waiting room because we have to make sure that you got your IDs, you got to do your 360 area. We have to look at all that exam stuff, the housekeeping for exams. So there's a delay. Don't worry. If you are in the waiting room on time, you will not be docked any points for being late. So you're good if you're in that waiting room. So here we go. We're getting ready to talk about this 15-minute increments here, you all. And attendance miss will be recorded in 15-minute increments. What does that mean? If you're 1 minute, 5 minutes late, up to 15 minutes late, it all equals 15 minutes being late. So if you just came in 5 minutes late, what the attendance thing, the calculation does, it says that you were 15 minutes late. So if you're from 16 to 30 minutes late, you're 30 minutes late. And then there's another slide that's coming up, but I go ahead and warn you, over time, that adds up. And then what happens is you run the risk of being dropped from the course because of that late time. So anyone without posting attendance, meaning you do not show up for 2 classes, because 1 class equals 7 days. So if you miss 2 classes, that equals 14 days in a row. We will be dropped without notification. So if there's something going on, whatever that is, if it's important to you, we need to know about it just so that we can discuss whatever the solutions are and identify what's your best next steps. You don't want to be dropped from a course and you have something going on and it just hasn't been communicated. So make sure you're communicating whatever that is, because after 14 days, the computer, it picks up that you're not there. And so it drops you. There is no makeup for missed attendance. Things happen, you know, um, and so you might have to miss, but they just have it where there's no makeup for missed attendance. But please communicate, because if there are resources out there, if there's some other solutions, then those things will be discussed. Attendance is taken daily in class by the instructor, turned over to the registrar's office, and I say the attendance administrator. So we give the attendance to them. They see these recordings. They look at the Zoom logs. Make sure you put your name and campus in the chat, no matter when you're logging into someone's Zoom. Early departures, tardies, and class cuts, they're recorded in those 15-minute increments. A period of less than 15 minutes. So if you're 5 minutes late, it still equals 15 minutes. And if you get several of these things, students with chronic absenteeism. So for example, if you're late 20 minutes per class, so that's 30 minutes, 4 or 5 times for that same class, it's going to add up. And then that can be in excess of 20%. And that could put you at risk of failing or reduced grade in a course. What do you mean by reduced grade? Well, you can have an A in the course, but if you have this chronic absenteeism, remember these 15-minute increments add up, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, that A can be dropped a whole letter grade. And if that letter grade is right at a 78% prior to being dropped, a letter grade, then it's going to result in a failure for the course. So everything matters, you all. And so if any of your classes overlap, which I think they've kind of gotten that worked out, but if not, they will notify us and we'll come, we make arrangements so that that's not an issue. But just know, if you have to be absent, please communicate that. So again, so that we can identify solutions, and you can decide on what's your next steps, because those 2 absences equals 14 days. Students who are absent more than 20% of the scheduled time will receive a full letter grade deduction at the end of the term. The online office with full attendance weekly. A student who is at 5% of scheduled time absent will receive an email through the campus view. A student who is at 10% scheduled time absent will be required to meet with me and the instructor. So this is me and also the campus dean, the course lead. And here at this point, 15 and 20%, you'll have to meet with Dean Brown, your campus dean, the course lead, and myself. Just everybody's involved, just trying to make sure that, we've identified whatever it is and all solutions or next steps for you. The level of the intervention will be reliant upon the amount of time missed, and the student may not receive all levels of the warning prior to the 20%. So students who are absent more than 20% of the scheduled time will automatically receive a full letter grade reduction just based on that attendance. Now, what this is saying, you may not receive a notice of that, but this is your notice. The first week of class, when we go through this online, this PowerPoint. So you might not be notified that you're at this point or close to this point. So that's very important that you keep up, communicate with us in the event that you have something going on. All right, so keys to success, key steps. And so we do have more, but this is what we found out. Review that work that is due each week. Just go ahead and just start looking in and just thinking about recalling information that you already know. Is this a new topic? Oh, I think I struggled with this topic last time when we talked about it in mid-surge. So that would be at the top of your list of concepts to go ahead and study first. So that helps you to go ahead and start pre-planning and being proactive rather than reactive. You want to complete the reading assignments each week. So remember, you have the HESI. The HESI is all inclusive. If you're assigned to chapter 1 and 3 and 15, remember on the unit exams, we may just have some of the information that you're tested on, but HESI is all inclusive. And then the reading assignments, they help you connect and make the connections with the content. So make sure you're reading through that. And then if you're reading through and you don't understand something, that also creates a to-do list for us. So those are the things that you want, the concepts that you want to ask your professor about. Complete their interactive lesson each week. You want to attend the live sessions weekly to get a better understanding of the concepts. So we do have different way that we have you to respond to the content. We use the chat. We use small group. We use Kahoots. We use whole group. We use these little scenarios, these stories, PowerPoints. Carefully read the directions and the rubrics to all assignments before starting them. So read that rubric, and that helps you to be proactive and say, well, okay, this is what's required of me. Or I don't understand what this number 3 is on this rubric. Let me ask about that. We send this email to gain clarity. And once you complete that assignment, go back to that rubric. Look at those directions again. You grade yourself. Number 3 says you should have a paragraph about bananas, apples, and oranges. I have 6 paragraphs, and they're about flowers, trees, and bears. So that part counts for 20 points. So if you don't have that there, you know that you're not going to get those 20 points because you do realize that you did not follow the directions and what the rubric is being graded on. So we're grading you based on what's on that rubric. So yes, go ahead and look at your assignment before you hit send. Look at it and make sure that those components are there and they're done to the best of your ability. You want to complete all assignments. We do have papers, CJ Sims. We don't use CJ Sims not for a grade, but we may use those just to go over a topic. But there are some classes where CJ Sims are used instead of NCLEX. But leadership, we use NCLEX questions. And then, of course, we have those discussion boards. For the NCLEX questions, we'll talk about this again. Download the PDF when you complete those NCLEX questions. And that's what you're going to upload for that assignment. You can do those NCLEX questions as many times as you like. Set a goal. Make sure that the NCLEX questions that you turn in at a minimum have a score of 80%, not even 78%. Just go ahead and set a goal. And so read the rationales for the correct answers as well as the incorrect answers, because both ways we learn, okay, this is why this answer is incorrect. Okay, this is why this answer is correct. So make sure you are utilizing those NCLEX questions and those rationales for beyond just doing an assignment. Because remember, you want to build on to your knowledge base. You have providing the best care you can for your patients. You have the NCLEX that you're going to sit one time and pass. You got the HESI you're going to sit one time and pass. You have these unit exams and these quizzes that you're going to sit and pass on the first try. So, but it does incorporate I know this counts as a bunch of time, but it helps you have a better understanding of those concepts. And no matter what setting that you end up working in, you're good because you have that foundation about those concepts. Completing these when assigned helps solidify concepts being taught. You want to study and complete quizzes and exams. So you have essentially a quiz every week. You don't have a quiz, you have a unit exam. You want to log in class 4 to 5 times a week to stay connected and engaged. We try to post them at least on Sunday, Monday, but sometimes things comes up during the week. So go back in and log in and see what's there. And you might, I don't know if it's an automatic, but make sure that your is set so that you get those notifications in the event that you've checked on Monday and Tuesday and you've seen those announcements, but we or Dean Brown or your campus dean may post something. It might be something going on campus specific, and they all have access to come in and post. And so you don't want to not receive those notifications or reading whatever that information is. So at a minimum, log into that class 4 to 5 times a week to stay connected and engaged. You do want to review those course announcements throughout the week. Go back and reread. I know you read them on Sunday. Go back and reread just to make sure you understand what's required. And if you have questions, you can ask questions about it. You do want to submit all assignments on the week when they are due, including those discussion questions on that Wednesday and the 2 peer responses on that Friday. On that Sunday. Every point matters. So just turn things in. And in the event that you're going to be late, please communicate to get that prior approval. So you can at least get, that assignment graded. Do not procrastinate. It's not your friend. You can take that one from me. Procrastination, like, oh, I have time. I don't have time. Do not procrastinate. To be successful, like we've talked about before, please keep in contact with me. Send an email, send an Outlook mail, send it via Outlook mail if you can. And if you don't have access to Outlook mail, make sure that, because you're missing things, because there are things that come to Outlook mail that don't come to Canvas, your Canvas mail. So make sure if you don't have access to your Outlook mail that you get with your campus team to figure out if you need to turn in a help desk ticket, or it may just be something that they need to, a button that needs to be clicked so that you have access to it. You do want to have reliable internet connection and computer and laptop. We know, depends on what the weather doing, it might not be reliable, but if it is not, please communicate that. You want to maintain a schedule for completing your schoolwork. Just because we have those due dates, you can always turn your work in early prior to those due dates. So especially if you know that, it's going to be a heavy clinical week, or you have something going on with your family, go ahead and get those assignments out of the way. You can turn those, as long as that window is on, you can go ahead and turn those assignments in before that due date. Or if you want to turn them in on the due date, because you may want to go back and look at it, just go ahead and put it together. Go ahead and type it up and put it on a Word document. So when that due date comes, you just have to a matter of, copying your work and pasting it to the in the appropriate assignment. You want to identify a quiet place free from distractions to complete your work. You'd be surprised how things distract us. We think that they don't, like, oh, okay. But then we find ourselves not completing tasks. So really we were distracted, especially for exam days, you all. Make sure that you have identified a quiet place so that you can concentrate, even if you think that you might need to have that exam administered on campus. Remember there's that notice that I want to say is a 48 or 72-hour notice that you must send an email to myself, Dean Brown, and your campus dean requesting permission to take that exam on campus. But I have found some students that say, hey, I have my dogs at home. They're a distraction because they just want to love on me during the exam. And so what they have done is they put it in writing and requested permission at prior approval within that notice time, and they've gotten permission to take that exam on campus. Now, you need to, the notice is there, that amount of time is because we have to find a person, a place, so that you can take that exam and that is quiet and is appropriate for you. So they do need to find someone in a place so that it can be proctored correctly in the correct environment. So make sure that you're adhering to that notice requirement. Okay, you want to read all assignments, directions carefully. Make sure you're reading through that. Look at that rubric before you turn it in. We have 4 more minutes before we take our first break, you all. Just to let you know. Excuse me, getting started, keys to success. Okay, day one of the term, you've already logged in. Most of you have already posted your initial post for your discussion. You've went through the little exam, little quiz thing that you have to do for your course. You've already done that. So you want to open your online course. You want to click the instructor information. You want to write this information down or have it somewhere handy. In the event that you need to reach out, pretty quickly to contact me. You want to print or save the course syllabus so you can refer back to it. Review your course syllabus, particularly the detailed course outline, and then you want to sign the acknowledgement. You want to confirm that you were given the correct textbooks in addition. Okay, so get your syllabus out, and then you click in the top of your Canvas. Make sure what's listed on that syllabus, the editions of the books, the names don't really change, but the course edition, the textbook edition, it does change from time to time. And for some reason, it does not happen often, but it happens where a student will supposed to, for example, the course syllabus says community edition 5, but what's in your course shell is community edition 3. That's just an example. But the whole idea is it's the incorrect textbook. So make sure that your whatever's on your syllabus matches what's in your course shell. And what do you do if it does not match? You want to send an email to your course, your campus dean, because we need to work together and figure out how it is. I think it's just a matter of the help desk, getting them to help us to resend the correct book edition to you. So it doesn't happen often. You also make sure, because a lot of times we say refer to page 15, and if you have that incorrect textbook edition, when you turn to page 15, what we're talking about and looking at and discussing is not what's on your page 15. So yes, the title doesn't change, but make sure you have that correct edition. All right, and so we are going to pause and we're going to stop here. All right, you all come on back. All right, so supporting your learning, you have to take ownership in supporting your learning. And what that means is, hey, send an email if there's a question about something, make a phone call, follow up on that email and phone call. Because if you call me, I may can answer and I might not answer. But follow up. That's supporting your learning. And that's what I'm here for, to help you with gaining the content, understanding the content that's here. And so make sure, if you're doing your part, I need to do my part. So let's just hopefully this term is a success for you. Hopefully everything works out well. But in doing that, you need to come to class prepared and ready to discuss the concepts. How do you do that? You have to do those reading assignments. Look at your homework assignments. Attend those live review sessions. If you cannot attend the live review exam sessions, at least commit to, when we send those links out, commit to going back looking at them. And even though we all are teaching the same content, believe it or not, we see it differently. So it is best to just look at Dr. Tenzo, look at Dr. Collins, look at mine. And but at least commit to going back and looking at those. And what you have questions about, the concepts that you still have questions about, let's talk about it. Don't be afraid of the communication and reaching out. You want to meet with your faculty to discuss the difficult concepts during our office hours. If those hours, don't work for you, send an email. We can come up with some day and time to meet and discuss whatever is needed so that you can be successful with understanding these concepts and, passing the class Like I said, providing that best care that you can. Schedule tutoring sessions when needed. You know what it is that you need. I will put it out there, but you know what you need. Sometimes you're like, no, I'm good, and that's fine. So if I send an email, just respond and say, hey, yes, I'm acknowledging what's here, but I am fine right now. I don't think I need any tutoring or any other assistance. And if you're having technical difficulties logging in, you want to contact that technical support, and they are pretty good. You can send an email to me as well saying, hey, I'm having an issue or some type of communication. But technical support, they're going to be the ones that's going to resolve that for us. Sometimes things just happen. Crazy things. Sometimes you can't log into your email. Or if you log in, you can't see someone sent you an email since yesterday, but then it looks like you don't have any new emails. So something goes on, and I'm not sure what that is, but technical support, they usually straighten us out real quick. Their return time is pretty fast. So don't be afraid of reaching out because things happen. Other learning activities, weekly review sessions, they're not mandatory, but highly encouraged. That's just saying, hey, you want to reach out weekly. Because for example, if you are a repeat student, if you are listed as an SAP and there's another title, we do require or strongly suggest that you meet weekly. But other than that, you don't have to. But if that's what you want to, I've had some students that they just want to touch bases. Hey, I just have a question about this concept. Hey, I need to get my calendar straight. I got something wrong. And we identified that they had the exams on the wrong weeks. So sometimes it's those, we say small things, but because the person had the exams listed incorrectly on their calendar, that threw things that would, if we had not identified that early on, that would have thrown things way off. Because that student worked, that student had a family, they had other responsibilities in addition to their coursework. So that would have just been pretty much detrimental. But we identified it, and we got it corrected, and that student was able to move on and be successful. So sessions held outside of class time by all instructors, that's that one-on-one, even if it's via email. It does not have to be via Zoom. We can talk over the phone, and it can be Zoom if that's what you like. Encourage to attend review sessions of other instructors to hear the same thing in a different way. And believe it or not, just hearing that repetitiveness of issues and concepts, you're going to automatically start remembering because that's just how we're wired up. We just start remembering things just because, even though we're not trying to remember it. So that repetitiveness, and then we're just not trying to remember things. We are trying to remember and understand and gain understanding of concepts. So if we continue to look at the other instructors' reviews, the classroom recordings, and we push those out, go back and look through your classroom recordings. We are covering the content. If you have questions about anything we've said, please communicate. Attendance is taken at the review sessions. So even when you attend the other instructors' review sessions, still log in, put your name in campus and your professor's name, because that review is shared with everyone, all the classes, and then your attendance is also shared with the attendance administrators. Okay, we just said the one-on-one tutoring. We're all available. We just need to coordinate a day and time. In the event those office hours do not work for you. Try to, if you can, let's meet during those office hours. If not, let's come up with another day and time. Students that participate actively in these two interventions tend to have higher testing scores, as many as 20 points higher. And these has really come from prior students. They're saying, hey, meeting with you just to look at my schedule, meeting with you to talk about that one concept that they couldn't get a grasp of, it helped them do better. Okay, so 80% of your 100% of that score, now, we have all of these scores and they equal 100%. They do not weigh the same. So the weight of your homework is 20%. Let me stop sharing. Another thing that, hold on, so let me stop recording here. So you have all of your scores and assignments, tests and exams, they equal, move this little bar up here. They equal 100%, but they do not weigh the same. So even within this 20%, your homework counts as discussion, your papers, your NCLEX questions, your HESI case studies, HESI practice exams, and Kaplan assignments. That all goes in this 20% of that weight. But then in the 80%, those 3 exams, those 5 quizzes, and then you have that HESI. And so within that, they all don't weigh the same, but the bulk of your grade comes from the exams, quizzes, in the HESI. So just make sure every point counts, you all. Reach out if you don't have an understanding of a concept. Even if you are, quizzes can't not be made up, or exams, if you have something that comes up, you're not feeling well, something happening, do not take an exam and say, hey, I wish I would have told you that, whatever was going on, and whatever is going on. Because if it's an issue, if it's something that's not going to allow you to do your best on that exam, then we need to talk about that, because you do have that window. Now, we will have to communicate with Dean Brown and your campus dean, but if it's something going on, it's not going to allow you to do your best. We need to communicate with them, because we do want you to do your best. And so, and with that being said, we have that window to take that exam. Granted, they say that it's okay to take it outside of the date that it was really due. Course and assignment grades. So week 1 and 5, you have the only grade that you'll see is with the homework scores off. During week 6, we turn the homework scores on just to show the impact. We turn them back off in week 8. Remember that you must have a 78% without rounding. Let me see if I can go back. With these right here, your unit exams, your quizzes, and your specialty exams, these weigh 80%. Those must all average out to at least a 78% without rounding, not a 77.97, not a 77 point or 76. All of these must equal a 78% without rounding in order for your homework grades to be valid and actually count at the end. And some students say, why do y'all turn this on during week 6? Because most of the time, homework grades boost your grade up, which that's good. But remember, if those unit exams and quizzes and that HESI is not 78% without rounding, then those homework grades do not count. But we turn them on and off during that time frame. Homework scores will stay off until the HESI exam has been taken and remediated. All of you all know that the HESI exam remediation depends on your score. And we post that at the end. If you make a certain score, you have to spend time with the content, the packets that's in there, in order for that HESI score to remain valid. In the event that you do not complete the remediation, that HESI score turns into a 0. Your combined scores on all quizzes, unit exams, and specialty exams in the course must be 78% or above before any credit for the completed homework is given. Not 75.99, not 77.97. So that's one early on when I say every point matters, you all, because there's no rounding. A minimum passing grade of a C plus, which is 78% outright, is required for successful completion of the course. Thereafter, your homework grades must be at least a 78% as well. So has there ever been an instance where someone had at least at 78% on their quizzes, unit exams, and specialty exams? And then when homework scores were turned on, that grade was less than 78%? Yes. And that means that there's a failure. So every point matters. Okay. So you all already know about the having the 2 devices, having your charger, having your ID, making sure that you're in that quiet area, even if you have to have that exam proctor on campus. Remember that window, and we do have a slide on here about that notice. Having your two devices, make sure you have those chargers. So we're finding out now things can be fully charged, and I'm not sure what goes on in the hardware, but you'll look up and you'll be halfway through your exam and your computer is or one of your devices is about to crash. So make sure that you have your charger. And for those of you that have purchased or some type of way gained a new device, and I'll say this again, once we turn that we don't have access to exam soft right now, but once we put that practice exam out, ensure that you actually go through that practice exam with your new device. Because what'll happen is you'll wait until the day of exam day to download that exam, and there may be some issues with downloading it. Then also what can happen is exam soft, if the specifications do not match specifications that are required by exam soft, it will not allow you to do that exam as well. And sometimes those newer devices has to get, acclimated or calibrated to exam soft. So that's what that practice exam is for you to get in there and make sure your devices meet, that they match, they're compatible, that you're able to work through that exam soft. So on exam day, there's no issues because that adds undue stress to you. So just make sure that you do that exam once it's available, that practice exam. Two devices. You need a dry erase board. You need your ID. Get your charger. Make sure you have those things. Quizzes are part of the key graded assignments, and they will be completed in class. Usually we take those at the beginning of class. I think the first maybe two we take toward the end just to get you acclimated. But the thing is, we take it during the first part of class. Just make sure that you come in ready to go. Quizzes are designed to be given at the beginning of class to allow faculty insight in the concepts that you may have struggled with. There's only one attempt at the quiz. Even if going through the quizzes and exams, if you're having connectivity issues or something happens, something's freezing up, please communicate that at that moment in time. Don't try to push through, get your quiz or exam graded and say, hey, I think I would have done better if I would have let someone know that my computer, I was having connectivity issues. Stop what you're doing, place it in the chat, having problems, connectivity issues. Wait on a response. If there's a delay in response, we're not ignoring you. We're more than likely talking to someone else. And so just wait on a response. Don't try to push through, especially if you're having those connectivity issues, because we really want you to do your best. And those connectivity issues, it can get things caught up, hung up. You just never know what effect it will have on your computer and you making your selection. So please communicate that. The quizzes are timed at 15 minutes for those 10 questions. Your exams are timed as well. Exams have 75 minutes, if no mistake. Be sure you submit the quiz. Make sure you get the confirmation when you submit your exam. There's a slight delay when you hit send than when it's actually submitted and uploaded. So remember, quizzes and exams must be proctored. That means I'm sitting here, if not me, someone else is sitting there watching you proctoring. We are proctoring the exam or the quiz. In the event that the quiz pops up or the exam pops up and you have access to it, stop yourself, say, hey, am I being proctored? If I am not being proctored, please don't click on that quiz or exam and take it. So again, quizzes taken that are not quizzes and exams that are not proctored. You're not on camera. There's no one there proctoring that exam. You go ahead and take it. That's going to result in a 0. And, some things happen when we update systems. Sometimes things are published and they're not supposed to be published, but you always go back to, I am supposed to be proctored while I'm taking this quiz or exam. If not, just pay that no attention. Do not take that quiz without being proctored. Quizzes cannot be made up for any reason. Quizzes, you can communicate what's going on, but even if you there's an instance where you have something going on, make sure that you communicate that, jump in, get that quiz. And if you have to drop off thereafter, that's fine. But quizzes cannot be made up for any reason. I don't know this. I don't know if it's a user URL. That's me. In this PowerPoint, it get jammed up sometimes here. me click it again. Okay. All right. So exams will be scheduled and given through ExamSoft. When that practice exam comes out, make sure that you actually go through it to make sure that your computer meets the specifications. You want to disable blur. You want to take down um, any settings that you have that will turn your camera off in the event that it detects that there's no movement. You want to disable anything that will not allow you to receive a message in the chat from me. And also we know that these cameras, if you have it set, if it does not pick up any movement, no activity, the camera just goes off like your TV. But your TV at least will ask you a question, hey, are you still there? And so you don't want your camera to be off. These sessions are recorded and reviewed by the attendance administrators. And in the event that your camera goes off, the campus Dean Brown, of course, everyone will be notified. You'll have to give us an answer as to why that happened. So just make sure, go ahead, look at your device, go to your settings, make sure you have all that stuff disabled. You do want to log in with your two devices. You want to sign in to ExamSoft, read the exam description carefully so you know the requirements. Again, the exam, when you are ready, you're given that 75 minutes. Make sure that you have your chargers, your ID, your dry erase board, your marker, and something to wipe off whatever it is that you're writing on there. Once you submit the exam, wait until you get that confirmation screen. There's a slight, I think it turns gray before it turns green or something, but there's a slight delay from when it actually is submitted and it's actually uploaded. Don't close that device up, because what will happen is your exam will go off into the clouds and then we'll have to go and find it. And, we might not find it that day or the next day either. So the point is, make sure with all of your exams, you're waiting on that check mark. It will say uploaded, confirmation. And you want to be sure to log out of the testing site once you're done. Be sure both your computer and your second device are fully charged. Still bring that charger. Have that charger in reach. You are only allowed one attempt. You cannot stop, pause, and resume the exam. If you are having technical difficulties, stop the exam and notify the instructor and wait on a response. Don't try to push through and then complete the exam and say, oh, I was having technical difficulties. I think I would have done better. More than likely, you probably would have, but you made the decision to push forward. If you're having technical difficulties or any other difficulties, you all, please let us know. These exams are timed, so make sure that you watch your time. Pay attention to the time that's used and what you have left. Anyone for accommodations, please notify. This is for all of your classes. Send me an email, send each instructor an email with the accommodations file each term. Just because you had accommodations last term does not mean we know about it. Notifications less than 10 days before an exam may not be able to be granted in time. There's a process that must be followed. So in the event that you don't have accommodations already, but that's something that you think that you might need, please go ahead, put it on your to-do list before this week is over. Have that conversation with your campus dean. Identify what is that process, what information is needed to put with that application so that your accommodations, so that file can be reviewed, approved, or disapproved of those accommodations. Please have that talk with your campus dean. Exams are held during your scheduled class time, exceptions only with written approval by the faculty and copy to the National Online Dean. Here it is. It's 72 hours, you all. So scratch, I said 48 to 72 hours. There's no range. There's a 72-hour notice. Let me read this out loud. Exams can only be proctored with a faculty member on campus with a 72-hour notice and must be done during the scheduled class time. So usually for the night classes, they proctor you before this time because usually the campuses are closed during this time of night. And so, but you do need this 72-hour notice because you do want them to find someone and a place for you. Because, so the classes on campus, the different classroom things are already being held in most of them. So we have to find someone in a place so that you can do your best and get that exam taken. Send an email including Brown, your campus dean, and myself in it. Please give this 72-hour notice so that we can accommodate. Exams are Zoom proctored. So just like we're on class tonight, the exams will be done the same. You will have to be at that side view. You know, your computer has to be in view. You have to be in view while you're taking the exam. You must be on camera the entire time. Disable anything that will turn your camera off in the event that it picks up no movement or anything that this will turn your camera off. That might not be the only thing that will turn your camera off. So just make sure you don't have any settings already set or preset that will turn your camera off. That camera goes off, things are going to be called into question. And so we don't want that. So you have to show your ID. Go ahead and get you have your IDs for clinicals. Just make sure an exam day, put it on your calendar. You know, have photo on person. You must show that complete testing environment, 360 view of testing area that includes your desktop, walls, the sides of your computers, the chairs, the floors in the testing area. You must show your ears if they're covered. If a tester has religious exceptions, please ask to discuss the issue with myself, any instructor that you have. Appropriate accommodations will be granted. Do not assume that we know the individual requirements. Please discuss that and send us any of that information in those files that you have so we can make things such so that you can do your best. Missed exams will be held to the late work policy. So again, quizzes, there are no exceptions, cannot be made up. Missed exams will be held to the late work policy. Exams missed without that prior notice will be a 0. So something comes up the hour of, a few minutes before the exam. Please let us know what is going on. So in the event that you decide to push through and take that exam, that's going to be your score. Let us know, but then know that there is, in the event that we grant that late work policy, it does require us to ask for notification and also documentation if it's an emergency. The information must be submitted to the National Dean of Online Nursing Education, which is Dean Darlene Brown, and notification must occur within that 24 hours of that scheduled exam. You know, sometimes you're like, oh, I don't have time to email Professor Ford within, so you have 24 hours. Notify me so we can go ahead and start looking and deciding, you know, what's next, what's your next steps. Documentation must be presented prior to exam being rescheduled. Any exam not rescheduled within those 7 days of the class time will result in a 0. So please communicate. You want to contact your instructor with issues that may prevent you from being successful on the exam before the exam. And this issue, you all, is whatever you deem as an issue. Let's talk about it. If it is something that is not going to allow you to do your best, let us know before the exam so we can identify what next steps are or a solution. Contacting us with issues or whatever the thing that's going on after you have submitted that exam, it's been uploaded and graded, it removes any ability that we have to work with you. So if there's an issue, it doesn't have to be connectivity issues, you all. If you think something's going on that's not going to allow you to do your best on an exam, please communicate with us before the exam. Once you hit submit, then that removes any ability to us for us helping. I'm here so that you can be successful. I want you to be successful. In the event that I am in the ER, I'm at the nursing home and knock, knock, there it comes, nurse. You all, I don't want to be afraid and be thinking like, oh, is this nurse going to take care of me? Do they know what to do? No, I want you to be successful because we want you to provide the best care that you can for your patients, no matter what setting you're in. And that includes asking for help if you need help. So that's part of it as well. No one knows everything. So providing that best care is also asking for help when you need help. It requires us to communicate, communicate, communicate. Taking exams and quizzes, okay? So review and follow instructions. So you do nursing exams and quizzes are time. We just talked about that. We have that time. So we talked about those accommodations too. Have that conversation with your campus dean about, what some accommodations might be, what paperwork is required, what application is required, what documentation is required. If you start the exam or quiz, you must complete it. You will not get another opportunity to attempt the exam. So you're going through, click, 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 a strong wind blows and your connectivity go out. Your internet, something's going on. But you keep on, click, click, click. You answered all 10 and submit. So you looked at all the questions and then you say, hey, I would have done better had the weather wouldn't have done whatever. It removes any ability for us to help. So that scores, it will be that score. Do not continue or try to continue if you're having technical difficulties, y'all. That you don't think it'll hurt you, but it just won't allow you to do your best. Even that one question that you would have gotten correct. One more correct. Because remember, we don't round. Whatever your score is your score. So you want to notify us immediately. And so put it in the chat. Don't come off mute. If we are slow responding, that means we're assisting someone else. Usually there are two of us there anyways, but still, sometimes it depends on what area we're in. Technical issues are just our all-time high, especially with this time of year. The storms are coming. So just wait on a response. Don't try to push through because we want you to do your best. Things that administration will do: verify issues by reviewing the log, review the number of times the student stopped viewing the testing site. So remember, all these things are seen. So everything is time-stamped. The little cookie crumbs are left behind. You can see how much time the student used of the allotted time, review how many questions were seen, and allow or give a code to read. Sometimes it'll ask you for a resume code, but it will tell you that, and you'll put it in the chat. It's asking for a resume code, and we'll give you what that is. So what we cannot do: allow a retake on the exam due to technical problems or physical or emotional issues when the majority of all the questions have been answered or your time has run out. Well, I was just trying to push through. No, we have said, let us know. We got that 1 to 7 day window so that you can do your best. So again, things that we cannot do is allow a retake on an exam due to technical problems or physical or emotional issues when the majority or all of the questions have been answered or your time have run out. So just communicate and wait on the answer. Specialty exams, I already told you, week 11, put a star by it, highlight it or something that week. Your class time looks different. We don't meet officially as a class. Whatever your HESI time and date is for your campus is when you will take that HESI exam. They're rarely given this time of night. Sometimes the dates are actually flipped because this class leadership is actually on Mondays and Fridays. So sometimes people take HESIs on Fridays when you've been in class all term on a Monday. But again, it is campus specific. So make sure that you are following the instructions for your campus. If you have not received any instructions, usually by the end of week 9 or sure the beginning of week 10, you need to be reaching out to your campus dean because they're the ones that schedule and oversee that process. Specialty exams are given in a proctored environment, proctor U or campus. There is only one attempt on the HESI, unless it's geriatrics. You have 2 attempts on that HESI. HESI exams, can occur anytime in the HESI week. So again, the example that I just gave you. Sometimes your class is on a Monday. You've been here for 10 weeks meeting on a Monday. You get to week 11, they're telling you that you got to take your HESI on a Thursday. So put a pencil, start that week, and go ahead early, be in early communications, which be proactive with your schedule for that week. So while you might not meet, you're not going to meet on Monday night, you may can push whatever that you were doing on that other night that the HESI is going to be scheduled to that other day. The exam counts as 20%. Remember that bulk, that 80%, the HESI counts as 20% of that 80%. But nevertheless, you want to, at a minimum, score at least an 80% on it. I know the passing is a 78%, but we want those extra 2 points so we can have that little cushion. The benchmark is 900. We have had students that have made, what is it, almost a perfect score. Their conversion score was 99.99. So just spending that time with the concepts, reaching out, reviewing, reaching out if you need to. It can be done and you can do it. You can. Like we talked about, and we post this during week 10, 11-ish, that remediation is mandatory. Even that student that made that conversion score of a 99.99, which was several students, they still had to remediate. That score was not valid unless they completed that 1 hour of remediation. So based on your score, if you have a 755, you must spend 4 hours reviewing or remediating the content. So remediation consists of completing 100% of the remediation time. Time should be spent over all concepts with the learning gaps. Because remember, I know you're thinking about the HESI, but you want to provide that best care you can for your patient. You want to sit for NCLEX one time and pass. You want to pass the test. You want to pass your classes. So reviewing that content, it just helps strengthen your foundation and understanding of concepts. So that's that whole remediation piece. It gets you more time, gets you to spend more time reviewing those concepts. Remediation packets are submitted by 1 a.m. Tuesday. So you have until 1 a.m. on that Tuesday of week 12 to complete these hours of remediation. Failure to complete 100%, for example, if you made that 751, failure to complete those 4 hours will result in a 0. So that conversion score of, I don't know, it may be a 78%, it actually turns into a 0 because this time requirement. Everything is time stamped. You can see how much time you spend in there. Give you time to get it all done. So just make sure that you're looking at that. So you must show your photo ID, your school badge, even if not asked. And so you're going to clinical. Just go ahead and get your badge. You need your badge for clinical, and also sometimes you get discounts as well. Make sure that you have your school badge. Okay, just checking the chat. Make sure I didn't have any questions in there. Good. Get that school badge. You need it for clinical. You need it for your exams. And like I said, there's some discounts you can get too for being a student. Join that student nurse organization. They want to see your ID. Make sure that you're a student to verify. And that's what it's used for, verification. Make sure that you have your 2 devices. Cameras are on at all times. Full face must be visible at all times. Fail to show your ID or not be fully visible at any time may result in the exam and or course failure. Okay, and that's what I was talking about early on. Disable all of that stuff that's going to turn that camera off or have your computer moving, all kinds of things. People are geniuses out there, and they've created things that these cameras and the computers can do all of these things that I can't even imagine. But there is a time and place for that. And doing those exams is not a time and place for you. That camera being turned off or anything. You want to remove any of those, those devices that you have that allows you to gain access to the internet. Just remove all of those things so that there is no chance of it being you looking at your watch for the time, being misinterpreted that you're looking at your watch for something else. You want to contact your instructor if you have any problems or if you would just like some help, some additional help. You can send an email, call, and your email can be Canvas and or Outlook. Prefer Outlook. Make sure you have Outlook. All right, so planning your time. You want to review your syllabus. Identify those requirements. Look at that rubric. Go ahead and get yourself organized. For the most part, we all have work, play, fun, and also we have these courses. So let's get ourselves organized. We want you to go on your family vacations and to have your go to the birthday parties and all of that. So we got to organize. We got to prioritize. We may can go to the beginning of the party, but then we got to leave early. because remember, these classes don't last forever. It's only a moment in time. So let's do our best by reviewing, getting organized, and completing those required readings so we can gain understanding of the concept. Because think about it. If I don't understand what an apple is, they can ask me 10 questions about that apple. I'm going to miss it every time because I don't understand the concept. I don't even know what an apple is. So how am I going to answer a question about the apple? Now I may can guess and get a few right along the way, but for the most part, if I don't spend time with the required readings and gain understanding of what that apple is, then I won't do my best on an exam or a quiz. You want to complete each assignment as directed. Get that rubric out. Grade it yourself before you hit submit. If you see some missing components, go back because every point matters. Remember, we don't have extra credit or extra work built in. All the course is complete. What's there are all the assignments that are required, and those are the only assignments that we can give course grades for. You do want to submit your work. Title the assignment per the course nomenclature. It tells you how to title it, and then you want to submit your work per the assignment instructions. For your papers, they have to go to Turnitin. Remember, I've already said, make sure if you have a similar paper that you've written for another assignment. If you've already turned it to Turnitin, you're going to come out as 100% plagiarized. So that doesn't look good. So go ahead and use those references. If it's within that 5-year time frame, you can use those same references. Go back in and paraphrase, reword those things. Make sure that you're citing appropriately. So this slide right here just shows you how to plan and organize. And we'll look at the syllabus here in a moment, but it's just showing you how, you can pull from week 4 and make sure you pull it over here to week 4, week 5, and make sure you list all those things. Every Wednesday, you should have something for every Wednesday, discussion question. And then every Monday after today, you either have a quiz, exam, quiz. So you should have those things penciled in. And that helps you get organized. We talked about the late work policy, but it comes up again. So let's talk about it again, just to make sure we're clear. Late work will not be accepted without prior approval from the instructor. If the instructor approves the submission of the late assignment, it will be graded, but it will have that 10% deduction. As long as you turn it in day 1 through 7 after the due date. 8 or more days after the due date will result in a 0. Late work will not be accepted without prior written approval. That means send an email. Hey, got this going on. This assignment is due. I know I'm not going to turn it in on time. Please grant me approval to still turn this in as a late submission. Approve late, and that's it. You just hit send, and I'll communicate back with you. Approved late work submitted by the student will be graded along with other weekly submissions for the next grading period. So what that means is, okay, so week 2, you've communicated, you've gotten the prior approval to turn that assignment in within this 1 to 7 day window in order for it to still be graded with that 10% deduction. That does not mean now week 3 work becomes week 4 and week 4 work becomes week 5. No, week 3 work is still due during week 3. In the event, whenever you think it's going to be late, send that communication to gain that prior approval. But no, it does not push it back, the next assignment back to the next week and the next week. Those assignments are still due when they are due on those due dates. So this again, just another slide just showing you what you will see when you go and open up the assignments. And then this is what you'll see on your modules tab. We'll look at that here in just a moment. And then this is just some instructions for your NCLEX. You want to hit that download button when you finish or when you get to that score that you want to turn in. You want to download it so that you can upload it into the assignment section. Okay, you can save it as a PDF. Now, if you say something gives you the option, I forget which assignment, And it might be those NCLEX questions. You can save it as something else, but it will not allow us to see it. So make sure you save it as a PDF. So when we click on it, it actually opens up and shows us. But if you do not save it as that PDF, we can't see it. Then there's even more stress because I wonder what they're emailing me about. They didn't grade my assignment. Well, we can't see it. So make sure that you save it as that PDF. Okay. Checking our time here. We'll take our next break at 10:30. That's right. Yeah. So in-class question. Let's talk about this. We kind of mentioned it before. Submissions must be the number of questions required on a single submission. So if the assignment says 50 in-class questions, that's what you need to turn in. Don't turn in 100 in-class questions because you're still only going to be graded for that 50. And you want to turn in that highest score. Set a goal for yourself to not turn in a score that's lower than 80%. You can repeat the questions as many times as you like to obtain that highest score before you submit it as completed. Download as a PDF, then upload it to the homework portal, and then we're able to see it. You are the master of the controller of what grade you receive. You can repeat those questions as many times as you like. Turn in that highest score. Okay. Another screen on NCLEX questions here. This is again, utilize the course text and online resources referenced in the course modules in the weeks that they're due. Percentage scores applied to the total assignment points available. Completion documentation required. Screenshots are not acceptable for NCLEX questions. Screenshots are only acceptable for CJCM assignments. So download them so that you can upload them. Download them and save them as a PDF. Complete the appropriate number of questions. This means 1 point per question. If you submit the required 25 questions and have 20 correct, you will receive the 20 points or 80%. If you submit 50 questions with 25 correct, you will receive the 12.5 points of 50%. So right here, this person did 50 questions when only 25 were required. But they did them so that they can get the 25 correct. You still are going to receive the amount of points for that 25 that's only required. So in this instance, the person will end up with the 50. So just complete the number that's required for the assignment. There are no bonus points for getting more correct or doing more. The assignment costs a 50, do 50. Now, preparing for providing that best care in your NCLEX and your HESI outside of the assignment, you do want to do other NCLEX questions and just keep yourself, just set a goal of doing some every week. But for your assignment, do the required number that's asked. Even if you do more, you still will just receive those points for the ones that's required. As soon as they have actually reported that each week they set a goal. One even said they did 3 extra NCLEX questions on their own, just prepping for the NCLEX, and they turned out well. Because usually students email us back and tell us, how well they did with the NCLEX, and so on the actual NCLEX exam. So in addition to doing the required number, you want to set a goal, 2 extra every week. And also, like I mentioned earlier, read those rationales. Know why this answer is incorrect. Know why this answer is correct. Either way, it validates and strengthens your foundation of understanding that concept. NCLEX questions. Follow the instructions carefully. If the assignment asks for 25 questions, complete the 25 questions set. Multiple sets added together is not completing 25 questions. And right there, they're saying 25 questions is what's required. And you end up doing 50 or 75 for that assignment, you're only going to get graded on those 25. Likewise, do not add more questions, hoping to get at least 25 correct. Your score will be the percentage correct that you submitted. So think about this. We don't give 50 medications, 50 different pills, hoping that 25 of them are the correct pills. No. So submit, go over and turn in the appropriate number. I think for this course, it's 25 questions. Some of the courses, there are 50 questions that's required. So the paper assignments will guide the development of the professional goals relative to the profession. So you have a personal development paper. So it helps you start thinking about your goals and aligning everything. And so for that professional paper, I think that's the name of it. That's one of the assignments or that you might have completed a paper that's real similar to, because you do find assignments like that in a lot of your courses that are similar. So, but just know that you've already submitted that paper. So don't submit that one again because it's gonna ding you for 100% plagiarism, which you must correct it. And in the event that you don't correct it, that will result in zero, that there's information that's placed on your file as you being having plagiarized and things like that. So this is again is another slide just telling you that, hey, on the module look, when you look at it, and we'll look in a few minutes, it looks like this right here, but you want to click it and it opens it up so that you can see the details of what is required. Okay, we have 6 minutes until our next break. Look at that rubric. We talked about this already. Make sure before you hit submit, turn that assignment into me, you grade it. Look at it. It says article, you know. Did I have citation from professional peer-reviewed nursing journals that are within the past 5 years? Let me look at my reference page. Oh, these references are from 10 years ago. Ooh, I need to go back. Because if you turn that in, so for right here, you're gonna not receive any points because it's not within what's on that rubric for you to receive the 3 points. So look at it. And if it's not correct, go back and correct it. I would rather have it turned in and get that prior approval and at least get that 10% deduction rather than getting zeros for all of these because it's not correct. So just make sure you read the rubric prior to starting. Get an understanding of what's required before you complete the assignment. If you don't have a good understanding, ask a question, communicate. Then that'll help you as you go through and pull everything together for your submission. You will have turned in your best work. Unapproved sites. This will make the slide again. So just as these sessions are recorded and reviewed by the attendance administrators, in the event that you click on any of those unapproved sites, we have them some named here. Course Hero, StudCode, Quizlet, you will be monitored. I'm not sure how that works, but you will be monitored. You'll be on a highly monitored list. Students using unapproved websites for research on homework will receive a 0 for the first offense. Upon the second offense, 4 minutes, offense, you will be failed from the course with a recommendation to the campus for dismissal. Stay off of those sites. If you do not know how to use your resources in that learning platform, just ask us and we'll get you through there. So we're going to click some of those anyways before we log off tonight. So tips for those papers, use that APA. We actually have placed or will put, I think we've already placed them in as some APA references, some APA tips. Go ahead and take a look at those so that you can just gain an understanding. But for the most part, we've used APA. But nevertheless, use those resources that we have. Purdue OWL is really a really good resource for you to use. Only use those nursing journals within that time frame. Don't go beyond that 5 year, no more than 5 years old. StudCode, Course Hero, and other like sites will earn you a 0 for the first infraction, and then of course failure for the second. Make sure you have sufficient resources for review. So if you have enough resources, then if you cite everything correctly, you will have the correct count, word count, page count. You will have more than enough because you have all these different resources that you have gotten information from. And just make sure you're citing them. So when you turn it in, make sure you're citing them in the paper correctly. Don't just have them on that reference page. Because what's going to happen is if you don't have them cited in text, then turning in picks it up as plagiarism. So we know no one knows everything, and the information is not our information. We want to give credit for where that information belongs and just cite it inside the paper. And that decreases your plagiarism score because you are giving credit to where the information came from. Make sure your research topics are relevant to nursing leadership. You know, whatever the topic is, if we're papers about apples, um, just make sure that the paper is about apples, whatever is in the rubric. Give your rationale for your argument in your own words, paraphrase, and then give credit for those sources. Let's see right here. Okay. Got one more minute and then we'll take our next break. Questions for thought. Are you prepared to sit for the exam? NCLEX, HESI, unit exam, quizzes. You know, just think about when all those things are due. What content is required for me to review? What remediation could your online instructor review with you to help you prepare? Go to that to-do list, jot those things down. Okay. I need to go back over apples or oranges or whatever that concept is. Send an email if you don't want to spend time on Zoom or a conversation over the phone. We could talk via email. What concepts covered in your homework assignment did you find challenging or difficult to understand? Let's see here. So we're going to pause and go to our 5-minute break. I want to be good stewards of your time. So we do need to move on. So these are just some questions for thought. You know, do the requirements of the nurse change based upon the surroundings they work in? So consider your setting. How can the nurse maintain professionalism? If they're not part of the hospital-based system, you know, like you're the community nurse, you're the clinic nurse, you're the urgent care nurse. These are just some things that, you know, that'll come to mind and just want you to start thinking about. You know, you're that charge nurse of that long-term care facility, not the acute care facility. Just think about how you're going to delegate and what helps you decide what to delegate. And then, you know, what helps you gain understanding of the concepts in each of your courses. Okay, let me pause and check the chat just to make sure I didn't miss any messages. All right, so let's go ahead and look at some of our content here. So let's looking at this nursing process. All right, so let's go again. Let's look here. What is this nursing process? Let's see. Move this over here. So they have these steps for us during this nursing process. From current slide. It is established by the ANA. They've looked at everything and they've narrowed it down to these 5 steps. And it's a critical thinking base. It helps us to solve problems. It provides that organized way for us to identify and to respond appropriately. That's within our scope of practice. And we'll talk about that scope of practice here before long. But that scope of practice is our to-do list in the state that we are licensed in. So anything that's not on our to-do list, we should not be doing it. Even when you're at clinical, and I'm not sure why people ask you all to do things that are not appropriately for the clinical setting while you're in clinical. And so what happens is, you know, that constitutes that patient harm being caused to that patient because one, you're not licensed, you are the student. But even once you get your licensure, you have to work within your scope of practice. So how do you know that you're working within your scope of practice? Well, you have to know what your scope of practice is for your state because that list tells us what we can lawfully do. And on the other hand, if there's a setting, so as you all are going through your clinical sites, be deciding what's your number 1 spot, your number 2 spot, and so forth and so forth. And once you do that interview, ask those questions. What else? What all services do you provide? What services will I have to take part in? Because what happens is we have the scope of practice. The facilities, no matter what the setting is, their policies and procedures should match what our scope of practice says that we can lawfully do. Now, there are some certain things that are not common, but it's lawful for us to participate in those practices. Then that's why I say during that interview, you want to ask, what all is expected of me? because there might be some procedures that you might not want to take part in. So that might not be the setting for you. And also in the event that that is a setting for you, when it comes time for you to participate in those practices and provide those services that are lawful, but ethically, you don't want to participate in, then you will have that conversation with your supervisor. So we do want to, the nursing process, it helps us to communicate with other healthcare professionals, caregivers, family members, and our patients effectively. It helps us to observe and take note of those nonverbal things. For example, if we notice our patient, a lot of in these long-term care facilities, I know you all have seen it, where they have bingo, they have bowling, they have this thing where they stack the blocks or the apples. Those are big games because usually those games in was it dominoes, they win money or prizes. So those are usually the activities that are mostly attended. So we have a patient that's in 201 and we start to notice, every usually the norm is that patient in 201 goes down and participates in that activity every time it's offered. And we notice that patient starts, they don't go as often. Or this is their favorite meal, but we start to notice that they're not eating like they usually do. So that's a form of nonverbal communication. When we identify those things and we respond to them, respond to the client needs within our scope of practice. We might have to bring that dietitian in. We have that conversation in a way we communicate with our patient so that they can open up and tell us what's going on. Is this meal no longer pleasing to them? Does it not taste well? They're having problems with their teeth. And so that nursing process is critical thinking based. It helps us to solve problems. It helps us to be organized and identify and respond and communicate correctly. So the nursing process, from the LPN scope of practice, we are gathering data. This is head to toe assessment. This is subjective, objective information. This is looking in that chart, looking at those lab results. These things are chart obtained. This is asking our patients, their family members. And then the RN comes up with that nursing diagnosis. Planning and collaboration takes place with the RN. So notice that the RN does the nursing diagnosis. Okay. And the interventions the RNs and the LPNs, both nurses can implement. This is our doing. This is inserting that Foley catheter. This is administering that medication, doing that dressing change. And then for the evaluation, provide identified findings to the RN. This is where we're collaborating again. We're discussing with the RN our findings. Okay. So the difference between the RN and the LPN roles, the RN functions independently in all 5 steps of the nursing process. All 5 steps, they work independently. The LPN acts in an independent role in data collection and implementation. Notice we did not say that they work independently, that they function independently. It says they act in an independent role in 2 of those steps. And that is, let's go back, data collection and implementation. So data collection and then the implementation. This is intervention. This is our doing. So intervention or implementation and the data assessment part, where we're gathering all of that information. We as the LPN are not independent practitioners, but in those 2 roles, under those 2 sections for the nursing process, we function more independently. Because think about it, when we're in there doing the dressing change, we're in there by ourselves. The RN is not there with us. When we are administering medications, we're implementing. They're not there with us. When we're doing our data collection, they're not there with us. So we work as more independently then. LPNs have dependent roles in the planning and evaluation. You need to know which role the LPN plays in each of the parts of the nursing process. Okay, so gathering data. Subjective and objective. Where someone come off mute and tell me, where do we get this subjective data from? Where does that come from?
From the patient.
The patient. Got it. So where does the objective data? So the patient gets a subjective. So that means the nurse gathers this objective data. So I like to think about it as we use 4 by 5 senses to gather this objective data. So think about it. We're checking the blood pressure. We plumping up the sphygmometer, inflating the cuff, and we're deflating. We're looking and we're hearing, and we're using our hands at the same time. We're deflating. Boom, boom. What did we hear? Whatever we heard and saw. We're touching the skin. It's cool. It's warm. We're using that touch of feel. We're doing that dressing change. We remove that old dressing. We don't smell anything. We're not getting up close and personal, but if we remove it and there's an odor, you'll smell it. So we can document that dressing, that wound as not having any odor or having odor. Is we never ever taste anything. So objective data is gathered from by us using 4 by 5 senses. We're counting the heart rate, we're counting that pulse rate, we're feeling that skin, we're listening to the lung sound. So what happens when we get an abnormal finding? We're checking that blood pressure and we hear the boom, boom. We're looking, we get 100 over 180 over 100. First of all, we've learned the normal, so we identify that as abnormal. What do we do next?
We need to retake it.
Retake it. We want to verify that data. We go back and recheck it. Even if you count respirations rate, the normal respiratory rate. Wait a minute. Let me recount them. We want to verify and make sure, because our next step is we're using SBAR. We're reporting a situation. The situation is this blood pressure is out of control. They have we go through that whole part. So, but we want to make sure the information that we're reporting is accurate, because more than likely we're going to have an intervention to implement. And we don't want to be giving medication or doing anything that we don't need to. Because think about it. How many times we pump up those blood pressure cuffs? Even if it's automated, sometimes the batteries go out, they need changing. Sometimes equipment tears up, is not functioning correctly. So the chances are there that the information that we are receiving is invalid. So we want to recheck it, make sure that it is correct, verify it.
Hey, Dr. Ford, I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Can chart information be objective and subjective or no?
The chart information is objective, but we list that as chart obtained.
Okay.
Okay, so the subjective is the person, the patient, the client. Depends on what setting you're in. They call them residents, call them patients, clients. So that's going to always be the subject, the person that's telling us information. Okay. We want to compare the medical records, especially when they're not congruent. Like we've asked our patient something and they've said whatever. As we're going through that medical record to get that objective chart obtained information, we do want to make sure, check. Well, the patient said that they blah, blah, blah. And because it's there, more than likely, it's someone else has already gathered that data as well. So we want to just do a cross check. We want to always communicate the information to the appropriate care team member. The example that we gave about the client not participating with the activity as normal, we want to bring in the activity director. If we're noticing that they're not eating food like normal, we might want to bring in that dietitian. And of course, we want to document appropriately. Take the time to document, because they said we didn't document it, didn't occur. So always take the time to come back and document. So there's some barriers to data collection. You just run out of time. We want to be culturally competent nurses. So there may be some culturally differences. So we may have to bring in that translator. We may have to ask that family member. We may have to even ask that trusted community leader if we're in the community. Depends on what setting we're in, so that we can get a better understanding of the values and things, so that we can provide the best care for our patients. Core skills in data collection. Make sure that when you have those open labs, to go in and practice your checking your blood pressures and doing those dressing changes. Use that open time in lab to go back and perfect your technique. Make sure you're staying within the bounds of what's legal and lawfully how to perform the procedure. But use those open labs. Go in and do that digital assessment again. Language barriers. Here I mentioned we may have to bring in an interpreter. And then we want to be aware of our personal biases. First, we want to understand our own biases because then that helps us to be able to take care of our patients by identifying our own. Only the RN, need to remember this, can develop the nursing diagnosis, goals and interventions, and plans of care. They're developing them. Of course, we can implement the interventions, but this right here says the RN can develop the nursing diagnosis, goals, interventions, and the plan of care. And then we collaborate with the registered nurse. Realistic, we want to make sure our goals and outcomes are realistic. Can we really attain these goals in this environment? I know you all should be doing care plans or have done care plans since you've been in clinical. You know, they have all these different interventions out there, but is this intervention really something that we can do in this setting? So we want to make sure things are realistic, measurable. How will we know that the outcome has been reached? How do we know things are getting better? So make sure things are measurable and time reference. An educated guess on the part of the nurse as to how long it will take to obtain the outcome. We want it time referenced. 30 minutes, 4 hours, 2 hours, every hour, whatever it is. Be specific. Okay. So here it is, it's working us through the nursing diagnosis, the nursing problem, and the outcome. The nursing diagnosis, here's an example: altered nutrition, eating less than the body needs. The nursing problem eats only, we've noticed they're only eating 5% of their meal. And it's related to they just lost their appetite in their week. It could have just gotten over a cold, pneumonia, UTI. It could just be a deterioration or an advancement or exacerbation in some chronic disease they had. Like, why are they not eating? So it's related to something. Outcome. The client will, and this is things that we hope they pick up in the number of calories that they eat. Will eat 1,500 calories of ground food and drink 2,000 cc's of liquids during each 24-hour period. Remember, we just said that these things need to be realistic, attainable, measurable, and time reference. Uh-oh. So here it is. 6 small ground meals. And here we go. We're specific. 8 a.m., 10, noon, 2, and 4 p.m. That's more specific than saying, oh, within 24 hours, they'll eat 6 meals. So they have gotten with the dietitian. We plan. Okay, this person, they don't need these large meals. So how often can dietary prepare these meals? Because usually after probably 6 o'clock, dietary is closed now. So yes, we would need to bring that dietary person in to figure out how we can get these meals in for them. This is just this part right here is for the liquids. Okay, so data collection. Liz, we want to check the intake, amount and type of liquids in cc's, or amount of food taken at each meal. I know now is if the person doesn't eat 75% of their meal in our area, that they're supposed to be offered a supplement because they said 50% is just not good enough anymore. Because what they're realizing, some of these meals and food items that we're eating, I guess the nourishments are really not there. So they moved it up. If that person doesn't eat 75%, let's offer an alternate, either alternate meal and or some type of health supplement. Okay, what is the outcome? We want the client to eat at least 1,500 calories of chopped foods within and drink the 2,000 cc's of liquid during each 24-hour period. And then we come back and evaluate and see, well, what did they really do? By day 10, this person did consume the 1,500 calories and they ended up drinking 1,600 cc's of fluids. But our outcome, we wanted to be 2,000. So then you're able to see, well, hey, what we're doing, is it working or is it not working? Do we need to go back and come up with a different way? We need to go re-talk back to dietary. Maybe we need to go back and ask this person what their food choices are. Are there any other treatments that this patient is receiving, for this chronic disease that they are undergoing? So we may need to add extra calories. They may need assistance with their meals now for this short amount of time till they get over whatever it is. So we have NANDO. We have these nursing intervention classifications. these nursing outcome classifications, but the RN has the final decision. You need to know this on the nursing diagnosis, the choice of nursing interventions, and the measured desired client outcomes. So that care plan, let's make sure we understand this, you all. Every care plan that we provide or that's set up for our patients, they are individualized. It doesn't matter if we have 10 patients, 5 patients, they all have diabetes. But think about it. There are different types of diabetes. There are people that are new onset. There could be a diabetic person that has just had a hip replacement. One person that's 50 years old. One person might be 20. So yes, while they all might have diabetes, we still tailor that care plan so that it is individualized, that it meets the needs of that person that's diabetic too, and have a hip replacement, that has type 2 diabetes, and they're 20 and they're athletes. So our discussion might be adding those extra calories because they're burning up that extra those calories. So we do an individualized care plan. But what is this standard care plan? So when the companies purchase these packets or these different programs, so no matter what it is for that chronic disease process, we'll just say diabetes, we'll say hypertension, everything that you can think of that's in every book about hypertension is on this standardized care plan. But remember, we just said we want to make that care plan that fits the person that is in room 201. We want the care plan to fit the person that's in room 203. We want to tailor it to meet their needs. So the packages that they bought has all the latest, greatest research and every option that it is for whatever disease process. But it's on us to take this standardized care plan and to make it individualized. If a standardized care plan is used, the interventions that do not apply to that client must be crossed out. And that's what makes that standardized care plan individualized for that person. So make sure we understand this, you all. So in the chat, we only have about 3 minutes left, but in the chat, I just want you all to put in your own words, what is the difference between the standardized and individualized care plan? So in the chat, we have 3 minutes, so we'll take 2 minutes to type that up and then push it out to so everyone can see it. Because what happens is the more times we look at it, we're gonna remember it. So in your own words, what is the difference? Because sometimes there's some confusion about this standardized and individualized care plan. I'm just talking to you, put your response in the chat. Let me stop sharing. So put in your own words, what is the difference between a standardized care plan and an individualized care plan? That was the last slide on that PowerPoint. So I just want to hear from you. Computer generated is a standardized care plan, okay? Keep it coming. And we do want to know that that care is already there, but we have to go in and cross it out or uncheck it. Sometimes those programs have everything checked. And so it's easier for us to uncheck the things that do not apply to your patient because we want those care plans individualized. Standardized is like the outline, and then individual is for each patient. Yes. Yeah, keep it coming. Need a response from everyone. Go ahead and place your responses in. We only have a minute left before the end. And then send it out to everybody. Y'all check out everybody's responses. It will help us gain a better understanding. Yes, standardized care plans are predetermined. Is everything in every book about whatever the disease process is. They've gathered the latest, greatest for us. Okay. Standardized. They get it from the latest, greatest research within the last 5 years. Individualized, specific care per person. Standardized is general. That's a different word. It's general. It's everything. I think somebody else used that word general. No, generated. It's generated. Individual is care plan. Standardized is Maslow. So Maslow is okay. I see what you're saying. Standardized care plan is best practices and evidence-based guidelines. Individual is best suitable for the patient unique needs. Got it. All right, you all. So you are communication is essential in taking care of your patient and you providing that best care that you can. So what is communication? Communication includes active listening, and that includes the person allowing others to speak uninterrupted and responding appropriately to what's being discussed. The person paraphrases what others have told them just to verify the information that they understood is actually correct. And also the person that asks questions to be sure that they understood correctly. So we are allowing others to speak uninterrupted, and we respond appropriately. Then we paraphrase and or ask questions just to ensure and verify the information that we have understood, just to make sure. And so the Institutes of Medicine, it actually uh, defines that patient-centered care is providing care that is respectful and responsive to that individual patient and the things that they value and their preferences. So that's why we need to be culturally competent. We need to identify our own biases. And we do need to ask questions in the event that, we have a question about something that we do not have that answer. Because we do need to provide that patient centered, individualized care for our patients. And that includes being respectful. If we have a patient that's a frequent flyer, we provide that best care as though that person had just come in for that first time for whatever services that they are needing. So remember that the LPN is not a supervisor for a acute care facility, but the LPN can be a supervisor for a long-term care facility. The LPN does not deliver those discharge instructions. We can come back and reinforce, but we do not deliver those discharge instructions initially. And then we don't complete the admission assessments. Those RNs, they do that. So they complete the admission assessments. Excuse me, the RN delivers those discharge instructions, and the RNs can be supervisors of long-term care facilities. So many times when the patients are receiving these discharge instructions, we want to make sure that the information that we are teaching them, that we are reinforcing, or that has been taught to them, that they've actually learned that information. And that's just a process of part of that nursing process to make sure that the information that we're giving them in a folder, whether or not it's in the form of a video, that the information that we have taught or that has been taught has actually been learned as well. Effective communication does include those nonverbal cues by our patients. For examples that I gave earlier was where the patient was not eating normally, they're not going to the activities that they usually attend. When we ask about their behaviors, those nonverbal cues that they are giving us, for example, not eating their food, that meal that they usually eat, that helps us to find out more. We want to ask that information in an open-ended way so that we are communicating effectively. But we just say, hey, I noticed that, you're not going to activities like you used to. You used to love bowling. Is there something going on? Is there something else? I noticed that you're not eating your favorite meal. Is there something else you would like? Is there something going on with your teeth? Or, just so find out more information. We want to be assertive when we are communicating, not aggressive. Assertive is being honest. It's an honest statement. An example of being assertive is, uh, you know, for example, if a person does not, hold on. So we do want to be assertive. That's being honest. And so sometimes those honest statements, we don't want to be abrupt and loud and disrespectful when we're being assertive, but we do want to say things that will encourage our patients to fulfill their highest capacity so they can get back to as closest to norm as possible. So we want to encourage them, by letting them know, hey, we want you to participate in these self-care activities. We want you to interact with others because this will assist you in getting back to your norm. Again, aggressive behavior is disrespectful, but assertive behavior is conducive to the welfare of your patient. So remember, the RNs, the registered nurses, they formulate those nursing diagnoses. So we talk about SBAR, know the different parts of the SBAR, the recommendation part. We get called and we've given the situation, we've given that background, we've given the information of what has taken place. And then for that recommendation, these are orders that needs to be addressed, procedures that must be done, or diagnostics that need to be reported. For example, that client, his recommendation that we move this patient to ICU. This patient has already taken Tylenol. Can we give them something different for their pain or their fever? These are things that needs to be addressed or procedures that must be done. And so that is that recommendation. But know the different parts of the SBAR.